Welcome, everybody. We are excited to be back for another summit call in the Evolution 2026 Growth Summit. I don't have to tell you guys that have been coming to these calls or watching them on recording that they've been pretty special. Um, we just keep rolling through with guests that have amazing stories, amazing knowledge, and that blends into a great conversation with us. And I know for me, I take something from every single one of these calls. And the eclectic group that we've created of stories has been exciting. I mean, we went from life coach Rob and sobriety and motivation to intimacy and sex to ghosts today. And I freaking love it. I'm here for it. It's awesome. So without further ado, I am going to introduce our wonderful guest and valued community member, Destiny Godden. How are you, Destiny? And am I saying your last name right?
Yes, you are. I'm glad to be here. Kinda
Nice.
getting back yeah, I'm kinda getting back into the groove. We did actually an investigation this weekend, so I'm trying to get that energy back.
That's definitely going to come up deeper, but how'd the investigation go?
It was good. It was good. We had
Nice.
a little bit of activity, but nothing super crazy. So, yeah, it was fun though, just getting together with friends and hanging out. So, yeah, it was good.
And that's probably a lot of it, right? Is the camaraderie,
Yeah.
the doing it with like-minded people. Like I'm a big disc golfer and I'm now a school. I do it because I love the people I'm doing it with more than just like, oh, I had a bad round, especially for disc golf. I love doing it with the people. So I can totally relate to
Mhm.
that. So how
Yeah,
we
it
start
definitely meant
people
I've definitely met a lot of good people, in the community of paranormal and even just people in Minnesota, outside of Minnesota. It's been fun just meeting everybody and sharing experiences with them.
love that. Do you ever get to the Wisconsin area? There's a lot of stuff here. I hear about it all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't made it out that way yet, but definitely would like to head out that way sometime.
Very curious. If you ever do, hit me up. I will like have coffee. I don't know if I'll come. We'll talk about that part. So I always start all these calls, Destiny. We kind of did a little bit of that, but give us a deeper look into who you are. I just ask every guest, who is Destiny Godden?
Yeah. Well, I guess I'll start. I've been a massage therapist for almost 18 years now. So that's kind of like a big part of who I am. Uh, I'm a wife, fur baby mom, and a paranormal investigator. So, yeah.
I absolutely love the eclectic. You're a massage therapist and a paranormal investigator. So how did you
Yeah.
get into massage therapy? You've been in it for 19 years. You said how long have you been doing that? Or how long? How did you get into it?
It, um, Honestly, it just kind of sounded interesting. And a lot of the like personal and spiritual development that I've done in the last week has made me really look at my choice of massage and be like, was that really a choice or was that meant to be? Because of everything that I've learned, I'm like, man, maybe I was meant to be, a therapist just with everything. But yeah, at the time it was like, oh, this sounds fun. Let's do this. I had never had a professional massage before and I decided, "Oh, let's be a massage therapist." But yeah, it was just kind of something that I thought, "Oh, this sounds fun," and I liked it, so I've stuck with it for almost 18 years.
Wow, that's impressive. You just kind of fall into something and it becomes a big piece of who you are. That's
Mhm.
so. How did you get into paranormal investigations?
I've always been interested in the paranormal. It's kind of always been just an interest of mine, and I don't know why. Um, but as far as like the investigations and everything, my wife and I, we had done an event at a hotel called the Palmer House Hotel here in Minnesota. And it was with a couple paranormal investigators who have been on TV shows and stuff like that. But we did this event and it was like, oh, this is so much fun. We should do this more often. And then my wife started connecting with another local person through one of the TV shows that we watched. They were like, "Yeah, we should get together, we should make a group and do this." And so we have a little paranormal investigation group, and that's kind of how we got started, was because she wanted to do this a little bit more often.
And how long have you been doing it for now?
2022, so yeah. And we go to a couple locations maybe every year. We'll do like a big trip once a year and then maybe some smaller locations here and there. So,
And so when you get into like paranormal investigations, do you kind of like this is my big thing when I came into your community, especially Paranormal Explorers Collective. I was really curious about like the gear you guys use, and, like, there's things
Yeah.
there's things that you listen to, and there's ways you look at sound waves and all kinds of stuff, and then what I was like, "Oh my god, to do this, you'd have to probably invest, like, all this stuff," and one of your community members, and I won't remember the name, but one of your community members was like, "You don't need anything." Just, like, really you can start to in tune with the world
Mhm.
around when you're at a site, right? So, for newbies, how would you explain what does it mean to get into paranormal investigations to you?
Um, I mean, yeah, you don't need any equipment really. If you are a very intuitive person, you can just, use your natural senses. But if you go to a place that's haunted, you can maybe sense the energy of the place. You can hear like physical noises and stuff like that. So yeah, you don't really need any equipment, but if you do get started, having that equipment just adds another layer onto what you can experience and what you can find.
And so when you got into it, did you kind of start like grassroots, like you guys are just going to places, and then as you figured more and more of it out, and I know you have a group that you do this with, maybe you can explain that a little bit. Like you got more of the tools and tricks of the trade. How did that evolve?
Yeah, we just started with some basic gear. I mean, some of it you can get on Amazon for pretty inexpensive, and some of it's not even intended for paranormal investigating. Um, but we just started with a few basic pieces of equipment and kind of went from there. It can be very expensive because it is basically custom made equipment. So some of it can be hundreds and hundreds of dollars to invest. Um, with the invention of 3D printing, actually some people make this equipment like at home. And so that's pretty cool too. But you only need like basic equipment like a spirit box, which is a device that scans radio frequencies really fast, and spirits can use that to speak with their voices and stuff. Um, and then just different equipment that can sense, like, electromagnetic energy, which spirits are said to, give off, and which is what we can sense as humans too. I guess, if you were gonna get started, some basic gear, go on Amazon, look up paranormal equipment, and kinda see what interests you.
And as far as the equipment goes, that's kind of sparked a question for me. As far as the equipment goes, is there something where you're like, I mean, yeah, it's accurate, but like we don't really know. And then there's something where you're like, I'm not going to an investigation without this. You maybe like
Yeah.
break down the tools a little.
Um Yeah, and actually, I wrote a book, The Ultimate Paranormal Ghost Hunting Guidebook, which breaks it down into very like basic equipment that a person would need for investigating. Um, so, spirit box cameras, always have a camera on hand, um, so that you can record your investigation. Um, Audio devices like a digital recorder, so you can record your sessions and maybe pick up what's called an electric voice phenomena, or EVP, which is a spirit voice that we can't hear with our own ears. It's in a different frequency, and our ears don't pick that up. So those are a few of the basic tools. Um, we always really like the video camera, a digital recorder, and then something, it's called a dead bell. It's one of my favorite pieces of equipment, but it looks like an old hotel bell that you would ding, and that uses electromagnetic, or it senses electromagnetic energy, and it can physically be dinged as well. And the spirits love that. It's fairly easy to manipulate for them, and you can ask yes and no questions and stuff like that with it as well. Um, so that's always one of my favorite pieces, and I love using it.
Have you like had a conversation with this using this bell? Like, yeah, one's
Hmm.
yes, two for no, or whatever, something like that.
Yeah, 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 yeah. It was going crazy over the weekend. We had it sitting in one of our hotel rooms, and it was going crazy. Spirits love it. So
I just picked up a cool question in the chat.
okay.
Uh, what do you do if they follow you home and are malevolent spirits? Has this happened to you before? From
Luckily we haven't really had anything negative. A couple of times, but when we leave a location, we set the intention. We tell the spirits, like, you need to stay here. You can't follow us home. You don't have permission to leave. But on occasion, we'll have like an energy that will follow us home, and we just do a cleansing with like sage and stuff like that. So
Thanks for the question, Lisa. Um, Dinka, we're a few minutes in. Do you have any? I usually throw it over to you to see responses or any wisdom.
We
Take
have a lot
magic.
of questions. Yeah, we have a lot of questions. No, to me, it's so cool because I'm sure you're familiar with the show Supernatural. So this is like the live version of that to me. So it's super cool to be able to have access to you. I will just go from the top down because probably you have seen some of the questions, and yeah,
yeah.
we will see for how much do we have time. So, do you have a spiritual framework that guides you in this exploration? That's the first one from Sharon.
Yeah, kind of our framework is to observe, document, and understand. So we want to observe um, the spirits and all the activity that could be happening in the environment. We want to document the things that we find, and then we want to understand. Understand the spirits that we're communicating with, and understand maybe their history, their story, what it was like when they were alive, and, if they're an intelligent spirit, like, what it's like on the other side.
Hmm.
So that's
Maybe
that's
this
kind
is
of
a
our framework.
silly question, but that just pops into my head. Is this only human spirits, or do you also have other type of spirits?
Um, we've mostly come in contact with just human spirits. We've never really had anything too negative. We've never gone to places that are known to have negative spirits. Um, there's so many other things like elementals and that type of thing as well that um, we haven't really experienced personally, but I know that are out there.
All right, let's go then. How do you stay grounded and protected while interacting with the paranormal? That's one that I want
Yeah,
to know as well.
right. A lot of it is intention. If you have a spirituality that that you connect with, whether it's being a Christian or whatever, um, really staying true to your faith and being grounded that way is really important for people. People that are in the paranormal community tend to have a really strong faith based, whatever that is. So the being grounded in your faith and I personally use specific stones or crystals to help stay grounded. Um, Going through my birth chart the last couple of weeks, I found that I was using some that were maybe not good for my particular energy.
Yeah.
Um, so this weekend, I did bring along some that were more based on being grounded and stuff like that. So, um, yeah, being intention with your personal energy.
Mhm.
I wrote notes, so I'm looking.
Yeah, of course,
Um,
no worries.
your spiritual boundary, um, being, you don't have permission to follow me home, to touch me, to use my energy, that kind of stuff. And then environmental boundary. Um, Not provoking and being respectful. That's one thing that we have very strong boundaries with is we don't want to provoke. Sometimes we're like, nothing's happening, so we want to do that, but you really have to stay grounded by respecting the environment and setting, that respectful boundary. Because if you're respectful to them, they'll be respectful to you.
I really love that energy of how you go into it with not just like willy nilly, like, oh, I heard this place is haunted. We're going to run in and try to take pictures. You go in it very intentional and you set your
Hmm.
boundaries and you're going and leaving with routines that can protect you or can just set you up to be in a good mental place for this. And I think that's
Hmm.
super important. So I love how you really highlight that.
Yeah, it's very important to have that respectful boundary with yourself and with the environment or the spirits that you're communicating with.
Okay, let's jump to someone else's questions just to spread it out a little bit.
Yeah.
Are you able to turn the connections on and off at will? If so, what's your technique to do so? That's a cool one as well.
Unfortunately, no, we don't really have the ability to um, turn the connections on and off. We've been to very well-known haunted locations and we're pumped, ready to go, ready to communicate with spirits, and then nothing happens or very little happens. Spirits don't come out on command. Um, one of the things about TV shows is that they only show you the highlights.
Mm.
You can be at 12 hours and only get 2 hours of actual footage. So, unfortunately, we don't have the ability to turn that on and off. Somebody that has more psychic abilities that can actually directly communicate with spirits might have that ability to communicate with them more directly. But in just a paranormal, like, investigation standpoint, you can't flip a switch and be like, "Okay, let's communicate, let's turn it off." That's not how it works.
Makes
Have you
sense.
ever had nights where it's just like, I don't know, you probably have a word for it when it's hot or like you have a lot of activity and you're like, holy cow, I can't believe this is happening. Ever had any of those?
Yeah, I mean, um, even just this last weekend, it was like we were in a it's called the Sweets Hotel. It's in a really small town in southern Minnesota, stone's throw away from the Iowa border. But it's a functioning hotel with a bar, restaurant, and stuff like that. But we started our night kinda early, like 9 o'clock, 9:30, something like that. We got really good activity for a good couple of hours, and then nothing. Like, it was dead the rest of the night. Like, we had a really high peak in energy, and then it just died down. And that's typically how it goes. You're not gonna have constant activity the entire night. You're gonna kinda ramp it up with your energy. It's gonna peak, and then it'll die down, and then it'll peak up again and die down. So there's definitely that kind of wave of energy, to where you'll hit those peaks and then it'll kinda wane, or you're gonna hit a high spot, and then it's just gonna be nothing the rest of the night.
Have you ever felt like, like really unwanted? Like, hey, babe, we should get out of here. You got,
There's been a few places where we've gone where it felt off and like, maybe we don't wanna be here right now. But like I said, we've never
we
been to
do
any.
get in the van. Let's get out of here.
Yeah. I mean, we've heard stories of people where it's like they'll only be in a location for a few hours and something happened, be like, "We're out of here." But we've never had that experience. So, but it does happen.
Um, how big of a group do you usually go in with? Like, is it just you guys? You said you have kind of some people you do this with. Like, what is a typical night for as many people as you have?
So this last weekend, we actually had 12 people. We went with some people that were brand new to paranormal investigating. They had never done anything before, so they were super nervous. But like our core group with Minagosta is our paranormal group. It's me and my wife, our friend Chloe, and Lauren. So we only have four like in our core group. But we have been branching out and doing investigations with other people as well, which is really cool because then their energy comes in and I feel like we get a little bit more activity based on other people's energies as well.
You don't live far from me. I'm telling you, it'd probably make for a great in this community if you brought me with you.
Yeah. Mm.
Huh. That's fun though. I'm glad that you guys have a group
Mhm.
like that. Dinka, like, we can keep rolling because these questions are awesome, and I'm gonna read one that just came up in the chat while you're doing that.
Yeah, so let's see what we have here. Well, actually, I really want to know the answer to Mark's question. He's also on the call. I don't know if you want me to read it, Mark, or do you want to ask your question? I can also take you off mute as you wish. Um, I'm good either way.
Hey, Destiny. Hi, guys.
Hi, Mark.
Hi. Yeah, I have to excuse me, Destiny. It's late in my day here in France, and I've got
Yeah.
the best of days today. However, I do live in a very paranormal property. My home is
Okay.
from the 1500s, and uh, there are out many outbuildings. Obviously, at one period of time, used to be a community here. My
Mm,
house is the old manoir, the old manor house, and there's another 16th century house here, which is from my retreats. And then I have
okay.
large barn complex, which would have been there are chimneys in there. It was obviously habitable at some point back in the day. A lot's gone on here, and it was also the safety house for the Huguenot people that were fleeing persecution by Louis the Sixth, 15th, Louis the 15th,
Oh,
back in
interesting. Okay.
a long, long time ago. I'm a high frequency empath,
Okay.
and I feel the energy here. I know the energy is
Yeah.
here, and my dog feels it. She sees it. She looks at it. She stares at it. She won't go up the stairs sometimes. When I walk up the
Mhm.
stairs, I feel the energy when I walk up the stairs, the cold rush as I walk
Yeah.
through the energy field. They come to the room, to our room every night before we go to sleep,
Mhm.
and my dog will sit on the bed, and she'll watch them at the door. I say my thanks to them. I thank them for being with us and protecting us, and I
Yeah.
bid them farewell, and they go away immediately.
Oh, that's
And
cool.
I've had some interesting, experiences here. One was only about 2 weeks ago where a friend of mine from Ireland was over and was visiting, and we sat down and we were just starting our conversation, and we heard this very, very clear call out, "Mark," my name. So
Oh,
clear,
wow.
clear as a bell. It was a female, and it called out, "Mark." We both heard it. My dog ears picked up. I got up off the sofa. I looked out the window because my house is 3 stories high. So
Okay.
my, living space is in the center floor. So the entrance to the property is on the ground floor. So I went down the first flight of stairs to look at who was in my, entrance of my property,
Mhm.
thinking it was a friend, but of course there was no one there. I went
Wow.
outside, I looked around, there was no one there. When I came back, he said, "Who was it? Who called your name?" And then we had this conversation, and he said to me as well, "I felt the essence as well as hear it as clear as day."
That's cool.
Interestingly, what you told me, I had another friend from Southern Ireland that came over. They were actually guests here on a retreat, and he was an old soul, a clairvoyant, and he gave me two, what do you call them, dividing rods before he left.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And I've used them. I've sat here in my living room, and I've had conversations, yes and no conversations,
Mhm.
holding these dividing rods, and they are incredibly accurate in their movement,
Yeah.
right, to completely cross over, to completely part on the yes
Mhm.
and no answers. So my question, I think, to cut a long story short, was, I'm sorry for going on, but I'm so empowered by this. Um,
Yeah.
what would your recommendations be for me to be able to find out more about the spirits that reside here with me?
Yeah. I mean, that's a really cool history. I mean, that part of the country has or the world has just so much history. That's really, really cool. Um, but I would say, like, if you do you wanna use the divining rods, or do you want, like, a different piece of equipment that would, um, make you ask more questions and get better answers?
It's interesting really because obviously we hear them as well as, feel them, and
Okay.
there are noises happening all the time, but it's an old
Oh,
property,
okay.
as I say.
Yeah.
These are very clear, very distinctive noises, like they're moving things around,
Okay,
to
so, like,
say,
poltergeist activity,
yeah, to
yeah.
want to get your attention. But there's
Mhm.
nothing bad, there's no bad energy here, the energy is so good, so calm. But I would
Mhm.
like to go to that next level to find out a little bit more information. Of course, because after the war, this place was occupied by the Germans, and
Okay.
after the war, all records were lost. Of course, everything was bombed out, burnt out. So if you look at the records, it says after 1949, because that's when the records
Mm,
restarted. But obviously, the
okay.
property is 1500s.
Yeah. Um, like, as far as equipment goes to, like, try to communicate with the spirits, I would say, like a spirit box, which is it scans radio frequencies, um, and you can have direct communication or direct conversations with spirits. If you wanna continue with the yes, no, the divining rods are really great. There's other devices that you can use as well that, do yes, no. Um, but I guess, like, digging into history, I don't know, you'd have to just ask the spirits to communicate with you. Since they're very active in, like, knocking and stuff like that, you could have them, knock on, something or move something around. Um We personally don't like using Ouija boards, and I know a lot of people have very strong feelings either way about them.
Mm.
Um, but I wouldn't go that route. I definitely just because you have such a naturally active location that you live in, just trying to use the environment around you would be really cool.
Okay, that's great advice. I will look into that because I'm
Mhm.
keen to learn more. Because of course
Yeah.
I'm I believe in the afterlife. I believe in the next life. Reincarnation. That's
Mhm.
part of my own spiritual journey. And so for me to know and understand a little more about who else is here, I think is well worth to know. Well worth
Mhm.
knowing. So thank you for that.
Yeah, yeah, direct communication is always, like, the best route, something that you can ask questions and get, like, verbal answers with. I will say, like, kinda starting out to avoid a lot of those phone apps that you can download.
Mhm.
Um, they can be accurate, but you have to really know how to interpret that information, and for beginners, they're not really recommended.
Mm. Well, if she calls out, if she answers me like she called out the other day with such clarity in the voice,
Mhm.
with my name, it should be an interesting one. So I guess I'll need to put my recorder on when I start to have conversations. That's for sure.
Yeah, the digital recorder would be really good too, because then you can get that spirit voice, to maybe answer you directly, in a frequency that you can't hear.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, yeah, thanks for the question and
And
the
keep
story,
us
that was
posted
great.
and keep us posted, Mark. I mean, I wanna know.
Sure.
Can you
Okay,
Netflix
guys.
show here on
Yeah,
Evergreen?
yeah.
Well, thanks, Mark, our special panel member, as always. I love your little additions to these. I really do, Mark. He told us a couple weeks or like the first week, yeah, we said, you should do this every day. And he goes, you can't afford me. Yet he shows up and does it every day. I love you, Mark. I'm going to jump because this jumps into a question that I had from your conversations.
Okay.
First, Lisa says, why do you investigate? What's your goal? And why don't you like using Ouija boards? And I was going to kind of bring up Ouija boards too. So I'm going to like that, what your answer is.
So why do we investigate?
Yeah, why do you investigate? What's your
Okay.
goals of why you do that?
To learn about the history, the stories of people, especially people so locations that are very active tend to have, um, a lot of history and, like, trauma. So, like, a hospital, an asylum, um, a group home, those types of things. So, we investigate, 1, to learn more about the other side, like, what happens when you die? Energy is not created or destroyed, it is just transferred. So, where does your energy go when you die? Does it go, stay at that location? Does it travel around? So we want to learn about the history of the person that lived there and just know more about like what happens when you die, what happens to your spirit, to that energy. And then I know there's a question too about earthbound spirits versus residual energy. Um, You have intelligent spirits, and then you have residual energy, which is just like an energetic imprint of the location. So a hospital or an asylum that had a lot of death, a lot of trauma, medical experiments, and people that just had a terrible life, that energy gets imprinted in a location and can create like a loop, an energetic loop. Um, Earthbound spirits are intelligent spirits which can directly answer your questions. They can interact with your equipment, that kind of stuff. Um, so we look to connect with the earthbound spirits, the spirits that haven't moved on, that are still at a location. But then we also look for maybe energetic residual patterns. So you kind of have to discern which is an intelligent spirit and what is just a residual energy imprint. Um, yeah. As far as like Ouija boards, um, people have used them in not good ways. You have to know how to use them properly. They can be great communication tools, but you have to know how to use them properly. You have to. It'd be kind of like a psychic connection almost. Um, People have opened portals and doors to things that aren't very good, and if people don't close that connection, that communication, um, it can bring things through that you don't intend to. So we personally don't use them, but I know people have used them and have had good experiences. It's just a communication tool for some people. But you have to know how to use them and have the right intention.
And again, I love how detailed oriented you are on really going into this with the right professionalism. Really, like you go into it
Mhm,
professionally for you, the spirits, everything. And that's really admirable because I'm sure you run into people who just kind of do this,
mhm.
like running in to see ghosts. And, like,
Yeah.
and that probably makes you cringe, right?
Yeah, and that can leave a bad imprint on a location as well. If you have people going in there using Ouija boards, opening communication lines that they did not intend to, that can ruin it for other people, for sure.
Yeah, really don't want people just coming in and messing up
Mm-mm.
the energy of the place. And I guess some people wouldn't realize, even like us who don't, me, who didn't really know much about this world coming in, you don't realize how much potential there is for damage that you're doing.
Yeah. Mhm.
You're not just taking your camera and seeing what happens. Like you could really mess up the energy of an area. That's super interesting to me.
Yeah. Mhm. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to write the book as well, because it kind of gives that beginner an easy spot to start. I mean, it goes through the basics, but then it also kind of goes into a little bit about the history, the different types of paranormal activity, the do's and don'ts of paranormal investigating and all that kind of stuff. And then it does go a little bit deeper into people that do have experience, but might have maybe forgotten some of the basics, like being respectful. So,
We have here a question that I also would love to know the answer to. How old were you when
yeah.
you first felt that you could sense these energies, and what was your first memory of this experience?
So that is a very interesting question. Only because the it's actually kind of a hard question too, because knowing what I know now with my birth chart and actually realizing that I have some psychic abilities that I didn't know that I had. Looking back, I'm like, oh yeah, this is maybe why I experienced this. Or maybe that's why I felt that. So I don't have like one pivotal moment where I was like, oh my gosh, the paranormal is real. Um, I've just always had an interest in it, and I don't know why. But now looking through my birth chart and everything that's come up has been like that. It's because that's who I am. That it's like ingrained in my body, my energy, my spirit. I've always had an interest. So there hasn't been like one pivotal moment where I was like, oh, this is weird. It's just kind of always been a thing. And I think that's one of the reasons why I'm such a good massage therapist is because I can sense like the energy and the connection to people. Like I just know. And so there wasn't one moment. It's just kind of always been like this energetic knowing, I guess. Um, but like this weekend, now that I know what my abilities are, can put a name to what I've experienced.
Mm.
And it was kind of funny because I was sitting on the stairs. There was a couple people sitting on the floor, and we were hearing noises from like down the hall. And we kind of was like at the same time. I was going to say, oh, I feel that energy shift. And the two other people at the same exact time, like, oh, do you feel that energy? It was like this energy that was moving through, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, yes!" Like, so now that I'm more in tune with myself, it's becoming more noticeable.
Mhm. I love that. And I relate to that so much. I feel like I call it two things. It's either not knowing but remembering because you've carried
Yes,
this
remembering.
knowledge
Yep.
from
Mhm.
a different life, or I also call it understanding. So it's like it's an
Mhm.
internal knowledge that it's in your DNA. And the
Yeah.
more you focus your attention on it, the more you have access to it. So that's really cool.
Mhm.
And I love that for you because it's actually the more you give into it, the sharper it gets almost. Like it's like
Mhm.
sharpening a knife. So that's really cool. I really love that.
Yeah, yeah, a lot of people will have, like, one pivotal experience that got them interested into the paranormal, but for me, I just feel like it's always been a part of me. And I never fully understood it until super recently, and now that I can make that connection, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's probably like a soul contract or something that you signed for this life that you just,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah, that kind of even came up in my birth chart too with, like, past lives and those, like, um, ancestral connections and everything, and I'm like, that's why I probably have that connection
Mm.
is because of that, so
So cool.
Yes, and
mhm,
more recently in my life, I've really come into a spiritual calling, if you will. And I'm
mhm.
really curious, have there been times like what you just explained, you didn't really know, like you kind of just fell into this, and now you're starting to understand this power, if you will, better, right? Have there been
Mhm.
moments of misunderstanding that were bumpy for you? Because I feel like I've had some.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, up until super recently, I didn't really know, like, my life purpose, I guess. Um, and going back to massage, like, I didn't really know how that fell into my lap. It just sounded interesting, but I feel like my whole life has been getting me to this point, and definitely a lot of misunderstandings, a lot of misconnections, not knowing what I was meant to do, like my life purpose. But now I feel like this is where I'm meant to be. And definitely my spiritual journey over the last few years has been getting me to this point. So, yeah, there's definitely been some like misconnections, misunderstandings, like not understanding my purpose for sure. But now I feel like now that I know everything where I'm supposed to be going, like my life journey, it's a lot more clear for sure.
Thanks for sharing that. That's kind of
Yeah.
exactly the answer I was looking for. Yeah, I
Okay.
want to make sure we get to all of our member questions. I know we had a bunch for this one.
Yeah, we still have some, don't worry.
I love
What
the
was the
questions though.
most really cool? And it shows that there was a lot of interest in this topic.
Yeah, that one, I had to kind of think about that one, but so last summer we a lot of our investigations are in Iowa because there's a lot of haunted places in Iowa, and it's an easy place to get to from Minnesota. But we went to the Villisca Axe Murder House, and for anybody that doesn't know, in June of 1912, a family, two parents, four kids, and two neighbor kids were killed in their sleep by somebody with an axe. So that's a prime example of a highly emotionally charged location. And we were super excited to go because it's like this historical um, place that you just have to go to. When we are going through, like, our walkthrough, we kinda walk through the place, definitely felt a heavy energy. A lot of sadness, a lot of just heaviness. Nothing dark, but just sad. And go up the stairs, there's a room at the top of the stairs with a bed, and that is the room that the parents slept in. They aren't the same beds, they're new beds, you can, sleep in them and stuff, but just that energetic imprint. I was sitting on the bed, we were talking about, like, um, kind of our game plan, what we were gonna do and stuff like that. And out of nowhere, I get just this wave of emotion and I start crying for no apparent reason. I just felt very sad. And I kind of laughed because I was like, this is so silly. Um, and I just felt off the whole night. And we were tired, exhausted, and because we had been to previous locations and it was a long road trip. It was the end of our like 5-day trip. So I think I was just emotionally vulnerable. But now looking back at my spiritual abilities, it definitely, I think, affected me more than I thought it would. Um, so I think it was pretty meaningful to me because it's an experience that I can look back on now and be like, "Oh, this is why that affected me so much." And, it was a very sad place. I mean, what happened was very sad. The killer was never caught. There are theories about who it was, but nobody knows. So that was kind of like my most meaningful experience. It just was, I think, my spiritual abilities coming up that I didn't know that I had at the time. So, yeah, it was very interesting.
Yeah, it was so intense. Like just the way you explained it, I got like the
Mhm.
shivers all over
Mm,
my body. It's really like
mm.
But I also feel like, because you were saying that you never had a turning point or like a realization, because it's always been there. So it's been your baseline. You
Mhm.
were never without it. So for you, this is normal, so to say. You just didn't know.
Yeah.
You didn't have a label to put on it, or you didn't
Mhm.
have a name to call it. So that makes total sense.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. So it's clairsentience, feeling energy. And then I'm also claircognizant. So I know things. And it's funny because in just the weeks leading up to the beginning of this year, I'm like, man, maybe I do have abilities, because sometimes I just know things and I can feel that energy. And even years ago, we had done the event at the Palmer House. There was a psychic medium there. And my question was, do I have abilities that I don't know that I have or that I'm not using? And she was like, oh, yeah, you're a knower. And at the time, it didn't really make sense to me, but now I can put those pieces together. So I'm just a highly um, energetic, intuitive person. So for me, like, it's just I've never really been in tune with that energy, but now that I can actually hone it in and focus it and maybe look back on past experiences, be like, "Oh yeah, this is what that was."
Mm.
So, I think
Yeah, I love
that's
that.
one of the most meaningful experiences to me,
Mm.
is just kind of in the moment I didn't understand it, but now I'm like, "Oh yeah, that was my abilities coming through." And I um, just was so emotionally and physically drained from our long trip
Mhm.
that I was not grounded. That was the thing, I was not grounded. I didn't have those boundaries and stuff like that, so
Mm. Yeah, and now obviously I want to see your human design chart, because I I also need to know. And I'm a
Yeah.
strong believer that everybody has some sort of abilities in this realm. We just get out of touch with it as we get
Mhm.
older, because children, and animals, they often sense energy. They're
Yes.
like even
Mhm.
pointing at it, so they clearly see something or sense something. And then we
Mhm.
kind of just like lose it. But I don't think it's something that if you lose it, like, you can never go back to it. I think you can
Mhm.
reactivate it. But of course, if you are not aware of it, then you would never even look for it. So is that something that
Mhm.
happens, that someone, maybe like a different experience to yours, like they don't know that they have this, and then all of a sudden
Oh,
it just
yeah.
kind of gets turned on by an experience or something? Do you have any kind of stories in that realm?
Yeah, I mean, this a lot of people say that everybody is born with abilities,
Mhm.
but I think the strength of those abilities and just your environment growing up hones that. And I think kids are just very open and in tune, and it's their experiences and environment that really either heighten those experiences or um, bring them down to where they just don't know. But there's like many psychics, that speak with spirits and stuff like that, will say that they tried to ignore it, but it was just overwhelming. The spirits wanted to communicate with them, and they just ignored it until it was like, "Okay, I have to know what's going on." So yeah, definitely you can have abilities that you don't really know or understand, and then you can have, like, one moment to where which I feel happened with me as well, one moment that opens these abilities up. You have to be in the right place at the right time in your spiritual journey, to access memories or, your abilities.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, and I also say that redirection is protection. Like sometimes you're not
Mm,
ready for
mhm,
something, and it's
mhm.
in your best interest that you are not
Yeah.
exposed to certain experiences. Yeah, yeah, that's really cool.
Mhm.
All right, let's see if we have some more questions. I think we do. Yeah, we touched on the earthbound spirits. Let me just see if you have something, Brandon. In the meantime,
Yeah.
shoot.
Actually, I think while you're looking, this is a great time to bring up how everything you've talked to us so far, how does that bring you to school and the Paranormal Explorers Collective?
I found school actually about a year and a half ago. A friend got me into some digital marketing stuff. I'd never heard of school otherwise. So she got me on the platform, and I started looking around and found these other communities. And I think Evergreen Foundations was one of the first other communities that I joined, because I was looking for like personal development and stuff like that. Um, so then after being on the platform for a while and finding how fun and community based it all was, I wanted to create something for the paranormal, because paranormal community just in general can be very toxic. There can be a lot of people that just tear other people down and are very negative towards other people and in the community. And I wanted a safe space for people to come and share their stories and stuff like that. And my wife thought it was a great idea too to have this safe space because we've both had experiences with um, people in the outside community being so toxic and overwhelming and negative. And we wanted this community as a safe space to let people be themselves, talk about their experiences that if they maybe posted on social media would be like, oh, that's you're making stuff up, that's not real, and that kind of stuff. So we really wanted to create just that community based space for people to talk about their experiences without the negativity.
How is that unfolding, you think? You think you're doing that piece by piece?
Yeah, I mean it's definitely been slow. Have a good amount of people in our community. It's just very slow. Like people aren't discussing or talking about stuff as much as I would like, but it's coming slowly. So we got to get the right people in there to start talking about their experiences, and just get that ball rolling in the community. But we have a good group of people there so far. So
And as far as what would you say like your goals are for the community and within this next like 6 months?
I think just the number one goal is getting that activity, getting people to start talking and discussing their experiences, sharing their paranormal evidence or experiences. I do weekly discussions, so each Monday I post a different topic for discussion. So just people to start engaging. That's kind of my number one goal. Getting the right people in the community to bring that energy up.
Have you shared your own experiences, like this weekend that you guys did the little
Not yet.
experiment?
We just got back home last night, so we haven't
Oh,
had
okay,
time
okay.
to
Mm.
to post about that.
Because I
And we gotta
find
go
that sometimes
we got
that's the best way when you share some
yeah,
stuff
yep,
from your own journey, then people are like, "Oh, by
mhm,
the way, I also had that." So
yep,
that's a good
yeah,
good
and
way to start.
after we get back from a trip, we have to go through all of our video and audio and kind of see what stuff that we might have that we don't know we have. A lot of the times the activity and experiences that we capture are on a video camera or audio recorder that we don't know that we captured at the time. So
Mm.
that's always the fun part. It's like the Easter eggs, going through all of the video evidence that you have and finding those little moments that, oh my gosh, this is so cool. So yeah.
That's very cool.
Lisa Z says, "What would you like people to post about in your community, and have you asked them?"
Yeah, I mean, posting your paranormal experiences, um, whether it's recent or something that you experienced growing up. Um, Kind of like Mark shared, um, his experiences over the last couple of weeks or months, in his very old home. If you've been on a paranormal investigation, sharing your stories, even just the weekly discussion topics that we have, sharing your thoughts, your comments, your experiences. Um, it's just kind of wide open. Like share your experiences and anything that you have that's unexplained. It doesn't have to be, um, necessarily about ghosts. There's other paranormal, entities out there, like Bigfoot. We're in the Midwest. Bigfoot's
Mm.
real big. Um, there's the, skinwalkers and, the elementals and just so many different aspects of that encompass paranormal. Aliens. You have an alien experience? Post about aliens. Wisconsin's huge for alien activity, supposedly. So, you know, bring it on.
So really, your community isn't just for your like avid paranormal investigators. It's actually for
No.
anybody that's interested in paranormal, spirituality, those
Mhm.
things you can't explain. I forget the actual name he uses. All cryptids. Someone in my life, my kid's stepdad, and he's a very avid part of my life. He believes in cryptids. He can tell you I've seen signs in the woods. Like he talks about them a lot in this neck of the woods of Wisconsin, and can point me to 50 places where he thinks they've been. So yeah, I mean,
What are those? Can you tell me what those are?
essentially Bigfoot.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, but they're called cryptids, and you probably know more about this than I do, Destiny, but yeah, that's like a name for him around here in our part of the United
Mhm.
States. He yeah, he'll talk about them like they're right down the road,
Mhm.
and I love that. So you're really looking for anybody that is
Yeah.
interested. You don't even have to be an expert. I love that.
Mhm.
Love that.
Mhm. Yeah, the paranormal does encompasses more than just ghosts. It's any unexplained phenomena. So,
We have
yeah.
this thing where I'm from in Michigan, the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. Is not too far from where you guys are up there in northern Minnesota. We have something called the Paulding Light. Have you heard about that? If you haven't, look it up. You might want to drive there with your wife.
Yeah.
So the Paulding is this light on a train track that every night comes out. There's nothing out there. There's nothing out there. There's no lights. There's nothing but the light from the train track that used to be on a wooden pole and it was like a glass light still shines out there every night. I've been there as a kid. I've seen it. If you go out there during the day, where you see this light on those train tracks in the middle of nowhere, there's nothing there, but it's visible a lot. I know a lot of people have seen it. I know a lot of people. It's a lot of lore. So the Paulding Light in Paulding, Michigan. Look that up. You guys would
Alright.
probably, yeah. It's kind of neat.
Cool.
This
Yeah.
is really like the supernatural series. It's so cool. I really love this. It's
Mm.
Paulding, Michigan. Yep, that's what it's called. And it's a Paulding Light. There's a story, I forget it. There's a story of a train engineer that died and he still like keeps the light on. I'm sure you could find a in a Google search find more than I can tell you about it. But I've been there.
Mhm.
Destiny, do you have any or Destiny, Dinka, did you unearth any questions that we missed from the chat?
Yeah, I'm checking, going through that. I think maybe one of Sharon's we did. What's the deeper draw that fuels your inner exploration? Maybe that's one that we
Oh
haven't
yeah,
asked.
that's a good one.
Um, yeah, I mean, it just like, I guess just trying to figure out the history, the stories of the people that inhabit these places in the spiritual realm. Um, Paranormal is a very unexplored, not very you can't there's no really scientific way to explore the paranormal. And so finding that just like what's on the other side
Yeah.
and what are we as humans capable of?
Mhm.
And
Good one.
what happens, like I said earlier, what happens when we die? Because it's just not a very there's no scientific way to explore this. Like it's just such a hard thing to pin down on what is the paranormal? How do ghosts happen? Why do they happen? What's on the other side? I mean, there's so many different theories, but there's no way to really like prove it,
Yeah.
Mhm.
So that's what we do. We document and try to understand.
Mm.
So,
Do you
And
feel you
what is your kind of understanding so far? Or what have you collected with all these
yeah.
investigations? What's your understanding?
I believe that there's like these different planes of existence. And when you get residual energy, you're tapping in or crossing that line, that veil of another plane. Um, there's energies that are on this plane of the living, and then there's kind of that higher spiritual plane too. So, like, there's these different planes of existence where it's shifting your, like, even in, just one night of investigating, you can hit these different planes of existence. You can hit the residual energy plane. You can hit the plane that we're in right now, talking to intelligent spirits. Um, I don't know. It's such a hard, complex thing. It's hard to explain sometimes.
do you
But
feel
is
you've
it
always
something like maybe like parallel, like
Yeah,
realities?
yeah,
Okay, yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
do you
So
feel
there's
you
so many different theories.
Mhm.
Yeah. What was the question,
so
or what did
yeah,
you,
I'll just
Brandon?
spit it out, I guess. So do you feel you've always had that curiosity of like
Hmm.
what happened here before me and to whom? And like what were the
Yeah.
people doing? And like even if you go into like a new building, a forest, anywhere you are, your surroundings, you always have that like natural curiosity of like who did what here before me?
Hmm.
I like that.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been interested in history and understanding other cultures and learning about different cultures just on a historical standpoint. And that's kind of what the paranormal is too, is trying to understand the history of a location. You can have a new built structure that's haunted because that energy might be on the land. It doesn't have to be um like an old building to have history or paranormal activity. So yeah, I've always just been interested in learning the history and um, things of places, locations, not just on a paranormal level, but just for fun.
A little bit of a hot take industry question here because I don't know. I mean, I know a little bit about paranormal stuff, and I'm a very spiritual guy. And what I am is a rabbit hole guy on the internet. I fall down them often. I used to fall down them more. Now I'm learning how to go. Oh nope, I'm not going to fall in that hole, and I just dance around the hole a little bit. Oh, right. And this is one of those subjects. Uh, so Ed and Lorraine Warren are pretty famous
Mhm.
this realm. They have a lot of movies made after them, the Conjuring series, the Annabelle movies. How were your thoughts on their standings? I know some people they're controversial even in your world. What are
Mhm.
because they're the popular people, right? And especially in America. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I personally don't know a lot about their history, and I've never really studied like their works and everything. But yeah, I mean, definitely it's divided. People, love their work and really believe their work, and then there's other people that are like, they were
Yeah.
kind of fakes. So I haven't really delved too much into like what they did in their history, just what I've seen really on the shows and movies and stuff. So
Here's some of their more popular cases, like for
mhm.
anyone that doesn't know the Amityville Horror, the Annabelle doll, any of those things that they made movies about, these people wasn't my wife. So, they were big and they made a lot of movies about them, and they have like museums that both of them have passed, but of all the things they've collected and stuff. And I kind of asked that question wondering, were you like, I don't really know, or oh god, they're superheroes of mine. That's kind of where I was curious.
Yeah. Well, my wife just popped in and she said that um Lorraine's psychic abilities have been proven through studies, um, through college studies and stuff like that. So, that's I mean, her abilities have been proven to be true and stuff like that. So, but
Really cool.
I personally just don't have enough knowledge to really say one way or the other.
Yeah. I was just kind of curious if they were like rock stars in your world or if there was more like pop culture kind of thing. So I think you both answered that pretty
Mm.
well. I mean, I know the comedian Matt Rife just bought the Annabelle doll
Mm.
for like so many millions of dollars. I don't even know if I'd want that. Might throw it in my basement, but hey,
Yeah.
one to
Yeah. But he
what?
didn't actually purchase yeah. No, he didn't actually purchase the doll, but he purchased the property that Ed and
Oh,
Lorraine Warren had, and in that was, like, their whole museum. So he's actually, like, basically the museum is on loan to him, so he doesn't actually own the
he's like the
artifacts, but
curator.
he yeah, yep, curator. So he owns the property, but, not the artifacts in the museum.
So how do you feel about artifacts and like keeping things from your? So how do you feel about that? That actually kind of brought up a good question.
Yeah. I believe that energy can be absorbed into an artifact, an object, and transported. So I personally don't know if I'd want to have any haunted objects, but yeah, they can I definitely believe that objects can be haunted. So
Do
Do
you
you
ever?
work with water, for example? Because that's something that I am learning more and more, that water actually holds memory and information.
mhm.
Does that ever happen, that you take a bottle of water to a location and then the water gives you information later on? Or I don't know, did you ever
Mm,
try something like that?
no, I've never done that, but water is a good conductor of energy, so, like, locations that are on rivers or lakes, moving water, definitely tend to hold more energetic energy than places that aren't. Mm,
So this probably goes hand in hand. Like you probably never like actually physically take anything from a place that you go to, right? And do you? Because
no.
the way you like you're intentional and like stuff like that. Do you have any thoughts about people who do that? They're like, oh, it's on a place. Now I'm taking this artifact with me. Like, do you have any?
Yeah, don't do it. Don't do it. Yeah, no, that's a very bad juju for sure. That goes in line with disrespecting the environment.
Mm,
So yeah, I mean there definitely has been people that have taken objects or things from haunted locations and they will send them back because stuff happens when they bring them home. So don't do it. Beginner tip: don't take stuff from haunted locations.
it's probably a good rule to fall by.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Do you ever perform any kind of rituals with energy on the locations with like crystals, or you just work with your intention?
Yeah. So my wife has trained in Reiki. She's got, I think, her level 1 or 2 training in Reiki. So we've done experiments where she'll go through the location and kind of like try to energetically charge the location with her energy. It maybe works a little bit. It's definitely very draining for her. And then I have had like I'll bring different crystals and stones to locations and stuff. In exploring my birth chart, some of them I should not have had because they have activated more. Like at the Villisca Axe Murder House, I had stones that I probably should not have had because I'm already an um, energetically in tune person, and those heightened my energetic like feelers. And so that was probably a bad idea. But yes, I have used crystals to try to activate those energies a little bit more. And now that I know my body and my abilities, I definitely will have to try to have more grounding stones and not things that will like activate those.
Lisa is asking which stone is most helpful, but I guess it's very personal to your birth chart then.
It can be, based on your birth chart, but, blue stones tend to have more, it goes along with the 3rd eye chakra, which is, like, your knower. So if you're trying to, like, be more in tune or intuitive, having a blue stone, there's really good books out there that have a lot of information about different stones and crystals and their properties and stuff like that. So it also depends on what you feel most energetically um, in tune with as far as stones and stuff. But I've also tried to do tarot readings at locations. We've done it a couple times, reading the energy of the space. That can be kind of helpful. Done it a few times, not too much, but it was interesting. So.
Okay, Lisa's now asking, do you intentionally clear up your pineal gland? And if so, how?
Um, no, I don't really do that. I should probably now that I am a little bit more in tune with my energies and stuff, but no, I haven't done that. But the blue apatite is one of the stones that directly correlates with the 3rd eye chakra and the pineal gland and stuff like that. So I
This
could
is the
probably
crowd of
do a whole
Lorraine
nother
you need to see.
and I could probably do a whole nother call on like crystals and stuff like that. But yeah.
Curious about the pineal gland and methylene blue and a bunch of other things that are out there these days. So this rabbit hole is right to the side of me that I'm just waiting to trip and fall into.
Lisa's asking how you spell that crystal that you mentioned, the blue
Blue appetite. Appetite is just spelt like, like your
appetite.
hunger appetite.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think you've got it, Lisa. Yeah. Okay.
Uh,
But
I see you
but
mentioned it
the
times. Oops.
um so the 3rd eye chakra is the blue color in the 7 chakras. So really any blue stone will help activate that chakra center.
Is there any don't brings? Like, don't bring this kind of stone or
I think that goes along with kind of like any abilities that you might have. You definitely want to have grounding stones, usually protective stones, smoky quartz, black stones are really good for protection. Um, but if you're a highly intuitive person already, you probably don't want to bring anything that's going to activate that intuition and that, energetic field.
like me? I'm energetic enough that's why I don't need like so, yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So you mentioned your
Do
book
you
and you
ever use salt? That's
oh,
maybe something that it was also in Supernatural. There
Mm,
was always salt,
mhm.
and I know that it's used.
No, I don't really do that, but it is a very protective, um,
Mm,
piece, um, so
okay.
it if you wanna use it, go ahead. I haven't used it. I haven't had a need to use it, but it is a protective, element, so
A big Sam and Dean fan myself, Dinka.
Yeah,
But,
I am too. I think it appeals to the female audience.
you mentioned your book a few times. How
yeah.
when like that? And where can if someone's interested after hearing all this, where could they find it?
Yeah, so I put it on a self-publishing website called Lulu, and that's the only place that you can get it. I can maybe drop the link or something in the
Drop it in when we
Yeah,
share.
please do.
Yeah, drop it in your
Mhm,
Destiny thread that she has pinned now.
mhm.
Um, when did you release that?
Last March.
Oh, congratulations. That's super exciting. Was that a project that you worked on for quite a long time? Did it just kind of come to you? Hey, I want people to how did that come about?
Yeah, it was just kind of like, I should write a book. Because I was working on my, like, digital marketing stuff. I was trying to create, like, digital download documents and stuff like that, and, I created a paranormal journal. One of the things you wanna try to do when you're investigating is document, so I kinda created just, like, a PDF journal, to document things, and, I don't know, the book just is like, "Oh, I should write a book for beginners." It originally was gonna be like a beginner's guide to ghost hunting or whatever, but then I didn't wanna single out people that have had, like, experience in paranormal investigating. So I kind of wrote it as a beginner guide, but then kind of went a little bit deeper into, how to, like, deepen your paranormal investigations and stuff like that, so and then, a lot of the proceeds that we got for that went into our paranormal investigation group to help, just pay for our investigations and stuff like that. So there's a little blurb in the front of it about, like, Minigosta and stuff like that as well.
Super cool. What are do you is Minigosta something you work on like growing? Do you market it? Do you do anything to like, hey, join our Midwest ghost hunting crew? Or do you just kind of like pick people as you meet them? How does that work?
Yeah, I don't do a lot of, like, the social media aspect of that. That's my wife and Chloe, our other team member. But yeah, we're definitely trying to grow, like, a following on social media. We do have a YouTube page, which we post our videos and stuff like that. We're not big YouTubers, obviously, but, um we just document and post our investigations. We're not really in it for the views or anything like that. We just wanna, like, share our experiences and stuff. But yeah, we definitely wanna connect with other people and, try to get our name out there and, um, grow our following, I guess, but they do more of the social media stuff than I do.
Yeah, I love how you guys have a pretty it sounds like you guys have a pretty good team around this passion project.
Mhm.
And that's what matters the most, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Dinka, what time are we got? I mean, 12:17. Should in respect of Destiny's time, I think we've had a pretty awesome conversation. I think we could keep
Yeah,
going
it was really cool.
phones and everything for hours. I think this is a good transition into uh last little part of our calls
Yeah.
here, and I will give you the wheel.
So you must know that I always draw a card. So the one that
Mhm.
I drew for you, it says Protection Guardian. And it
Oh,
says three,
perfect.
drop your shields. This is something that I felt throughout the call that you're so respectful
Mhm.
towards the spirits that, they were also humans
Mm.
before. And I think it's a refreshing kind of take on, you're actually walking into somebody's um place that they inhabit at certain
Mhm.
times, and you have to be respectful of that. So it's kind of funny that the card also shows that. So I hope it resonates with you.
Yeah, yeah. Mhm. Yeah, and one of the things that we wanna do with Metagosta in the future is to do more private investigations, go into people's homes, and maybe help them understand an experience that they've had, or, if they feel like a loved one or family member is with them, trying to get answers for them for that. So, we definitely wanna be respectful with that
Mm,
and, try to protect, their integrity and stuff like that as well, so but then,
Truly
like,
important.
going back to the birth chart thing too, like, that is who I am, like, I am a protector, and so that
Mm.
definitely resonates with my energy for sure.
Amazing. Love
I
it.
feel like it's perfect every time we pick those. It always, like, really hits the nail on some of the story we just heard, and it's really cool. It's really cool.
Yeah, yeah, I've noticed that too, that they've been pretty accurate to the
Yeah.
person's call.
I have a really nice connection with this deck, so it works really well for me.
Yeah, it's awesome. Um Well, to wrap up a little bit here, Destiny, I totally agree with Tinka. The way you present, how you do before, after, the
Mhm,
respect, the intention that you bring to all of this is really admirable. It shows that you take it seriously. It shows that you care for our world and beyond and what happened. And there's not a lot of human beings that I think take time to slow down and do that, myself included. Like there's things that
mhm,
I think I might have taken for granted that maybe you now opened up to me because you're so passionate about how respectful you are. So thank you for that. Like I really
mhm,
appreciate that aspect of what you do.
mhm. And it's important too because a lot of the TV shows and stuff like that, like, they can portray it as something other than that, and, you definitely wanna if you wanna have a good experience, you have to be respectful for the energy and, you know, act as when you move on and you're a spirit, how would you want people to be, towards you? So
I love that. I'm going to throw her under the bus because she just did a bunch of things. And Godden, welcome to Everly Foundations. We are so excited to have you. I can already see that you are an incredible support system for your wife because I've seen the little things where she's looking at you and pointing at you on camera. And so I know you're giving her support as she's doing this. And it's a beautiful thing to see. So welcome to our universe. You guys are definitely welcome to be our forest paranormal investigators. Let us know what you can feel in the forest and post about it. You're more than welcome. Um, Besides for you mentioned some social medias, you mentioned your Minagosta, you have a community, you have a book. In a short little thing, where can people find you? Where would you like to point people to? You can drop links in threads, obviously, but
Okay.
where should people come
Okay.
to find us and need to talk more about this?
Yeah, so we do have a Facebook, page, Minigosta Paranormal. We're on Facebook, that's where we're most active. We do have an Instagram page, don't post much on there. And then our YouTube page, Minigosta Paranormal. So, yeah.
Perfect. And of course, her community, the Paranormal Explorers
Paranormal
Collective.
Explorers Collective. Yeah.
Got
Yeah.
it. Um,
Mhm.
so our last question that I ask every single guest, and you've probably seen this, is, and I love the answers because they're so close and they're so different at the same time. I love that. So, what does evolution mean to you?
Yeah, I've been pondering this question, trying to think of what to say. But I think in light of like my spiritual evolution, my personal evolution in the last um, weeks, months, um, I decided to go that evolution to me means finding that balance in life to where you can live with discernment and sovereignty and still live as authentically as possible. A lot of big words in there, but
No,
that's
Yes.
but yeah.
Mhm.
Well, it's been a pleasure,
Discern
Destiny.
yeah, yeah. Discernment means to be, judged well and perceive and understand, and, sovereignty is, like, self-ownership, and then, just authenticity, living aligned to your, actions and words and behaviors, so I think that's it's pretty somebody in the paranormal world needs to have,
Mm.
all of those things, so I
Yeah.
think
It's a
just
very Libra thing to say. Do you happen to have some strong Libra placements by any chance?
Yeah, a little bit. Um, but yeah, I think evolution to me just means, finding um, that balance in your life and being able to live authentically and, not losing who you are in the process or maybe finding who you are in the process.